Play Week 7 filled with stunning upsets. 0-4-5 this week in college football had huge implications to the college football playoff, with number 5 Washington falling to Arizona State and number 10 Auburn losing in Baton Rouge against LSU. 0-4-5 7:00 p.m. at if only every upset-filled week spawned a sequel like the one we watched in Week 7, let's call it 2 Upset 2 Furious. Or maybe Upset Weekend. Part 2. This one has the best ring to it. Upset harder. No matter the name, the upsets kept coming. Saturday, a day after number 2 Clemson and number 8 Washington State lost to begin what was supposed to be a ho-hum, no-good, boring college football slate without one game featuring 2 ranked teams. By the time Saturday turned into Sunday morning on the East Coast, number 5 Washington and number 10 Auburn brought the final tally to 4 AP top 10 teams with losses to unranked opponents, topping last weekend, when Michigan and Oklahoma lost as heavy home favorites. In all, 7 top 25 teams lost to unranked opponents. Jake Browning and Washington couldn't get it going offensively against Arizona State until it was too late. Christian Peter sang Getty Images. This is what college football does just when you start to think nothing can be as good as the previous weekend of upsets. Part 2 throws all the shocking plot twists into one just to see if you were paying attention. Indeed, Part 2 drew attention with its Twilight Zone feel. But this weekend also marks an unofficial second act of sorts. We're in the second half of the season and the teams we think we knew become less and less predictable as pressure rises, margin for error shrinks, injuries mount and motivation wavers. Biggest upset losses for top 10 teams in 2017. Linear opponent 3 Oklahoma 30.5 Iowa State 2 Clemson less than 23.5 Syracuse 5 Washington less than 18 Arizona State 8 Washington State less than 16.5 Cal greater than this weekend. So what makes Week 7 so unique? When every season has its share of upsets. For starters, 3 of the season's 6 biggest upset losses involving ranked teams, according to the point spread, happened this weekend. Now for a little history. The last time there were 0 ranked matchups this late in the season came in Week 12 of 2009 and 4 ranked teams lost and only one in the top 10. Even Clemson, the team that convinced us it had separated itself with 3 top 15 wins in its first 5 games, showed it is not immune. Its loss to Syracuse not only had us rethinking how we view Clemson, it had us rethinking how we view who could get into the college football playoff. From here on out, the Tigers have no margin for error. Neither does Washington, whose shocking loss hurts much worse because its non-conference schedule is, in a word, dreadful. Washington came into the game as an 18-point favorite over Arizona State. But against a team that gave up an average of 36 points per game, the Huskies managed 7 total points in a 137 defeat. Number 12 Oklahoma has no more margin for error, either, an idea that got reinforced after blowing a 200 lead on rival Texas. At around the same time Saturday afternoon, 2 other unranked teams made their own upset bids against top 15 opponents. Georgia Tech led number 11 Miami, and LSU improbably began erasing its own 200 deficit to number 10 Auburn. Darius Juice and LSU erased a 20-point deficit to beat LSU 2,723. Derek E. Hingle Today Sports Celsius comeback started shortly after the 2007 Tigers national championship team was honored at halftime. Les Miles returned to star in Less Eats More Grass, and as soon as he took a bite of that famous Tiger Stadium turf, something started to change. Auburn had 0 points and 64 total yards in the second half, a stark contrast to its 23 points and 290 total yards in the first half. When Connor Culp hit a 36-yard field goal with 38 seconds left to pull the Tigers ahead 2,723, Ed Orgeron smiled the smile of a man taking his own starring turn in the resurrection of Coach O and Matt Canada, a love story. Week 7 turned out to be nothing but trouble for Clemson, Washington and Washington State. Alabama takes back the top spot. 2 weeks, 2 stunners. Following Oklahoma's shocking loss to Iowa State last week, top 10 teams Clemson, Washington State and Auburn all fell. And that's good news for Georgia and TCU. LSU completed its comeback just as Texas looked as if it could also do the same. Texas took a 2,423 lead midway through the fourth quarter behind an inspired second-half performance led by freshman quarterback Sam Ehlinger. But Sooners quarterback Baker Mayfield, banged up and bruised, ultimately made the plays Sooners fans come to expect and led Oklahoma on a go-ahead touchdown drive on the ensuing series and held on for a 2,924 win. Meanwhile in Miami, the Hurricanes have become a team that finds ways to win games. This time it was receiver Darrell Langham, whose bobbled catch on 4th down put Miami in position to hit the winning field goal, a catch described by coach Mark Richt as a minor miracle. So Oklahoma and Miami avoided the same fate that befell Clemson, Washington State and Auburn. But those close wins only serve to underscore that unpredictability is the lifeblood of college football. And the surprising results we have seen to date could only be a prelude for what is to come. Perhaps the upset strikes back comes next weekend or the week after next. If we have learned anything over the past 2 weeks, it's that we can predict that sequel in the series will get greenlit. And even more havoc will ensue. You get the sense that everyone is on notice from here on out. Well, everyone except Alabama. A shirtless Mike Gundy and a couple of Friday night upsets started the weekend off right. Here's the best of Saturday. Don't get upset, it has been a tough couple of weeks for Florida. The Gators lost 17-16 last week to LSU. Then, Saturday, the Gators lost to Texas A&M on a late field goal. But Albert the Alligator is here to get the Gators fans through the tough times. Here is a puppy. I hope it helps. Pic.twitter.com C6Cows85Y, Albert at Albert Gator, October 15, 2017. Nice little Saturday for Oklahoma State. Records broken at Cowboys. 747 offensive yards are the most in program history. Down arrow, down arrow, down arrow. Pic.twitter.com to Pomro 3.